And hello again. Welcome to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Camp Myers. We're here every week meeting interesting people and talking about topical issues. And this is about the year-long celebration known as the Oklahoma Centennial.
2007, our birthday year, 100 years. Just an enormous number of events going on, and we've got two people with us today that know more about it than anybody else, and they were kind enough to break into what I know is a hugely busy schedule to come spend some time with us and tell us what to look for, what has gone on in the past, and what we can expect.
Yeah, what's occurred, what will occur. Still early in 2007, our centennial year. Stay with us. Blake Wade, Lee Allen Smith coming up on The Verdict.
For Chesapeake Energy, every day is game day. A chance to outperform the field and win again. Winning consistently demands the kind of leadership we see in the Hornets' Chris Paul, a champion whose respect for the game and his team has produced one of pro basketball's brightest new stars. At Chesapeake, we know leadership starts with a generous heart as well as the will to win. It's taking responsibility for more than personal success. It's building teams that perform as one. In natural gas exploration, winning demands leaders who develop strong teams in the company and in the community. And always, the purpose of victory is prosperity for our fellow citizens and our communities. We've learned each win is earned as a team, and Chris Paul proves it every time he plays. Chesapeake, American Energy wins the day.
There's a whole new world online, but it's not always safe for kids. Never agree to meet anyone you only know online, because they might not be who they say they are. And if you must meet them, take a parent along. It's the safe way for kids. Right, gang?
Right. Be safe online.
Thanks to Lauren Nelson and Cox, we're working to keep Oklahoma kids safer online. For your free guide, log on now. And if you feel your child has been placed in danger by someone online, notify law enforcement today.
Looks like somebody doesn't want you to know the facts about Cox Digital Telephone. Maybe it's because over 1.5 million customers are saving big, and you can too. Plus, you'll save even more on all your Cox services when you bundle today.
Oh, here's that new phone service I've been hearing about.
So while the phone company may not like competition,
Nice doggy.
you're gonna love it.
Nice doggy.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Camp Myers, and Ken's going to introduce today's guests.
We're very pleased today to have a couple of guests back that we've had before, and it's very timely that they would make a return visit. On my right is Blake Wade, the Executive Director of the Oklahoma Centennial Commission. Blake has been working on the Centennial activities since 1999. It takes a long time to get these things organized and to get them done right, and he certainly has done that. Before that, he was Executive Director of the Oklahoma Historical Society for 9 years. He's an Oklahoma native, grew up in Lawton, did his undergraduate work at the University of Oklahoma, then had a very fine 20-year or so military career and retired. Included within that was service in Vietnam. He's back again for another visit with us to tell us about what's going on in the Centennial. Blake, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
On my left is a longtime friend of mine I've known since I was literally a youngster, Lee Allen Smith. Lee Allen is making another visit to us to talk about the Centennial. He is Vice Chairman of the Ackerman McQueen Agency here in Oklahoma City and around the state and the nation. He's President of Oklahoma Events. Lee Allen had a long, successful, and pioneering career in radio and television. here in Oklahoma City and has been involved in most of the big things that have happened in Oklahoma City and in Oklahoma for the past several decades. He's working with Blake on the Centennial. Lee Allan, welcome back.
Thank you, Kent. Glad to be here, Mayor.
I want to start with the song because it's getting such rave reviews. Oklahoma Rising. The idea of having a song really fell upon your shoulders to go out and make something happen. How do you create a song of this magnitude?
Well, you make a call to some friends like Jimmy Webb and Vince Gill, and they both agreed to write a song, not to replace our state song, the musical Oklahoma state song, but to write one called Oklahoma Rising. And we were very fortunate to have two Oklahomans to come forth to produce, write, and collaborate in making that great song as such as it is, and put it on a CD, which is being sold at all times, and with the proceeds going to Habitat for Humanity. So it was a great coup for the state, really.
What kind of reception are you getting to the song? Are people buying the CD?
Yeah, they're calling. Blake goes out weekly, daily to give speeches, and he plays it, and they all give him a standing ovation for it. So I think Jimmy and Vince have both, their websites have been inundated with requests for the copy of the song, and it took so many to respond to. We finally, I think Blake's office is asking for $10 donation to the Centennial to send him one, because we just couldn't keep.
Well, it's not a simple song, too. It almost requires an orchestra, at least on the version that they play.
It does, but we had a request here from several schools lately that this wants to have the basic sound itself, the music instrumentation, so that their kids can sing behind it themselves. So it's getting all kinds of different ways of exposure, and we're very proud of it, and we use it in most all of our presentations now.
Another great idea you guys had, or somebody had, was to have a very huge presence at the Rose Bowl. Blake, I take it you were involved in.
Well,
in fact, I think I'm the only one here on the set that wasn't there. But.
Well, the mayor certainly came, and we're so delighted that he was present during that particular time. This goes back 3 or 4 years. You know, the one thing that's great about working with Lee Allan is that he had the vision to see 4 or 5 years ago that we needed to get out to Pasadena, get in with the group that was going to be in charge in '07, find out who the float builders were. We ended up getting the 2 finest float builders by being out there 3 or 4 years ago, and then working with them throughout the last few years. And you know, I just can't tell you what an exciting time. Can you imagine 50 countries, over 150 million people, 1 million people live that day, all got to see that Oklahoma was having their Centennial 100th birthday.
We've got a little clip from the Rose Bowl parade with a rather startling excerpt, and I wish we'd show that, and you guys kind of commented, if you will.
Well, this is, of course, we were having our holiday, and this was a present, and no one knew about this on the streets. And of course, this is now Rocket Man coming out of the box. First time that a float was able to stop during the parade, and it did, and all cameras and everybody was watching this.
Logo on the front.
Logo all on the front of the gentleman Rocket Man, and then of course he takes off, and it just takes over all of television live. And now he's going up Colorado Boulevard, and everybody just cannot believe that he is doing so well. I do believe that he's able to stay up for no more than 30 seconds. And so you can see how precise it is when he starts coming back down to the float, and you'll see this is so interesting.
Talk about Oklahoma Rising. Oklahoma really rose to go on a pun here.
Indeed. Now this guy's not through yet, I see.
That is correct. No. We were able to keep the television going, and they just were all enjoying it so much. And then he brought out a surprise that you'll see here, and it's so delighted to show you now what the Oklahoma Centennial flag looks like.
It's went all over the world. There was a front page story in the Los Angeles Times.
Well, there's the Centennial flag. That's quite a thing.
Just to recap that, we had 2 floats in the parade, and one of them won one of the better awards. And we had the highlight for me, and I know Blake also, was our Oklahoma City University American Spirit Dancers, along with our 150-piece Centennial Band from all over the state, opening up the Rose Bowl. So we had a dominance in the parade, and I think it really struck a chord with people all over the world. We had an article in the paper the other day from Brisbane, Australia, saying that Oklahoma's celebrating 100 years, and that's where you should be going in '07. So it's getting a lot of attention.
Wow, that's terrific. What's going on, Blake? That's an awfully open question. It could take the rest of the show, and I hope it will.
Well, the one thing that the American Bus Association presented us with the #1 event of the United States in the last 3 months, and I questioned why we were chosen, and the answer came back that the Centennial of Oklahoma was well organized, had the plans made, every event was down on a calendar, and we had over 600 events, festival events and projects all over the state of Oklahoma with dates when they were going to be dedicated. And that was why they wanted those bus companies to be able to come to events that were well organized. And so, you know, I'm so delighted that we were chosen to be the #1 event. Yes, you know, Mardi Gras, you know, Kentucky Derby, all these great events all over the United States, yet Oklahoma Centennial was named #1. You know, what I like to say today is that over the last 4 or 5 years, all the preparation with working, our goal was for every community in the state of Oklahoma to have at least one project. We worked with the communities, our criteria was high, we wanted to make sure that they chose the event, not us going in and dictating it, but working with the communities. And then, of course, the state dollars came to play, but they had to match dollar for dollar. So you can imagine how today all these events are all planned, organized, and we're so delighted now just to be able to start in and go through that.
What's coming up here in the next couple of months?
Well, we've got so many events. I'm going to let Lee Allan just talk about a few of the bigger events.
Well, I just mentioned that Kent said earlier that about the year-long activities. It's really been 4 or 5 years in activities, starting back with the Dome, which was very successful, leading up to the stamp of recent vintage, which was very successful, a beautiful stamp done by Mike Larson. The CD you mentioned, the things that are coming up, you're only as good, I guess they say, as good as your last event. And one of the last ones wasn't all that significant, but it was very important to Oklahoma City in particular, which we refer to as the Big Friendly now. But we had a big 12 clock dedicated in front of the Cox Center, across the street from the Ford Center, and we stated in there, it was a sponsorship by UMB Bank, but it said in there that this commemorates the Big 12's first championship in the city of Oklahoma City, and named the dates for the men and women's. And now Gary DeJardin tells me at the Ford Center they're saying, I'll meet you under the clock. And it's kind of a destination point.
Let me jump in, get us to a break. We'll come back and Lee Allan can pick it up there. The Big 12 was held in Oklahoma City last week, and the Centennial was very much a part of it. More on the verdict after this.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of the verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
Shining is taking responsibility. At Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma, we know managing your health care can be overwhelming, and it's our job to help you meet the challenge. By guiding, supporting, and showing the way, we encourage you to gain control. Because we believe the best tool we can give you is the confidence to take charge. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oklahoma, shining through.
That land next door was a mess. Take more than a lawnmower to revive that land. I heard the oil and natural gas people was cleaning up old oil sites, and it wouldn't cost us a plug nickel. Oh yes, sir, it was quite a revival. The whole church showed up, want to make a playground for the kids. It sure is a blessing.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
Oh, hi!
Hi, I know you guys said I'd save with Cox Digital Telephone. Well, my bill came and... Could this be right?
You may be surprised how much you save with Cox Digital Telephone. That's why over 1.5 million people have switched.
So this really is a total? Lovely. Because I think I found a good use for the savings.
With Cox, there's no waiting for the other shoe to drop. The only surprise is there's no surprise at all.
Not sure where you're headed? NATS can help you find your way. It's the National Athletic Testing System. We call it NATS. You'll call it your launching pad to success. NATS will give you a standardized evaluation that will help you measure your performance and give that information to college coaches so they can accurately evaluate your potential. NATS also helps with academic support. Join with the Oklahoma High School Football Coaches Association and head for success at www.nats.us.
Welcome back to The Verdict. When we broke, Lee Allan Smith was kind of giving us a rundown of all the Centennial events that are taking place in 2007, and we were on the Big 12 Championships, which just concluded.
Yeah, that was a great tournament, thanks to the city and all the leadership at All Sports and certainly your office. But our logo was on every ticket, and we were very pleased and proud of it. And the clock was spectacular. Some of the things coming up, and I'll kind of skip around, but on October the 1st is our new mural that'll be going up by Oklahoma City University or City Community College, a mosaic mural down at the end of the canal going west from Mickey Mantle statue. And the big thing is our Centennial Expo at the State Fair of Oklahoma, which starts September 13th
through the 23rd.
Through the 23rd, and it should be one of their biggest fairs ever, with the celebration of our 100th birthday. Speaking of murals, we do have a new mural starting today going up just to the north of the Oklahoma mural of the musical Oklahoma on E.K. Gaylord Boulevard with the western town there. And two things that pretty arty, we think. Mike Larson is doing a heroic-sized statue of the Philharmonic maestro out in front of the music hall, like he's welcoming the people into this brings it to life. And that's going to be sponsored by the Jeanette and Dick Seiss. And then inside you go in and there'll be a heroic-sized statue of a ballet dancer. And that'll be sponsored by Kim and David Rainbow, and that'll be coming up very shortly. If you want me to get into the things towards the end of the year, I will. There's all kinds of clocks. We've put up 57 clocks, Blake.
That's correct so far.
I say, Blake, I got to say that I couldn't work with a finer person and somebody that's more talented and patient with me. To be at my side has been a joy of my life throughout all the things that I've been involved in. But on October 14th at 2 o'clock, that's a Sunday, our Centennial Parade will occur, and it'll be a fantastic parade, and I invite everyone to start making plans to
in Oklahoma City,
downtown Oklahoma City, go on Sheridan and up to Reno and up Broadway to about 5th Street. And then on November 16th, the governor declared November 16th Statehood Day a legal holiday, and we'll have the Centennial Spectacular at the Ford Center. And won't be giving out a lot of names of who we have, but just rest assured there'll be Celebrity A, Celebrity B, Celebrity C from Oklahoma, and it'll be a tremendous event on that evening that'll kind of culminate it. I've seen where you've asked a lot, what about the future? I think all this is for our future. It's nice to have the Run Monument we have, and the Indian involvement that we're working on as far as the American Indian Culture Center, which is going to be a destination point. It's going to be wonderful. All this is about the future. It's not about, we're touching on what we've done and where we are and what we're doing, but it's all about the future. That's what the whole thing's about. And it builds, it grows, and snowballs from there of the things that Blake's doing, and we're all trying to work with Blake to help accomplish.
Blake, tell us about what's going on in Tulsa.
Well, let me say that, in every community there is a Lee Allan Smith, and, there's always that one individual that stands out at this critical time of a Centennial celebration. I can't say enough about Lee Allan Smith and what he's done, not only for Oklahoma City, but projects all over the state. But in November, Statehood Day of '06, we decided to kick off the Centennial because we had so much. We went ahead and started in November of '06 with 11 days up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Sharon King Davis, Don Walker, wonderful, wonderful folks headed that committee up. We had Tony Bennett come in. We had the Blue Man Group. We had Carrie Underwood. We had our Oklahoma Centennial band play. That was their initial march that they have done. It was such a wonderful 11 days of so many diverse projects that it just took that much time. And so, you know, what we felt like, Tulsa kicked it off and kind of, as we did a symbolic horse going west towards all of Oklahoma. And it was a great way to get everybody involved. I'm so proud of Tulsa for getting involved.
You know, I would assume you all are reluctant to pick out just a handful of rural communities who've stepped up, but I would love to hear 2 or 3 stories about something going on in a rural community that may not get the fanfare of some of these other events, but use this opportunity to expose them and what they're doing for the
Mayor,
Centennial.
you're so right. And you know where it's really enjoyable is like out in Beckham County in Sarah, Oklahoma, where their county courthouse, after 95 years, got to complete the finishing of the dome and the bells and the clock on top of their county courthouse. The whole county showed up for this event. I mean, they raised the money, they had it going. We sang songs. I looked around and I knew the power then of what a county centennial project's like. And as they said, after 95 years, they finally had the chance to complete their county courthouse that was on the National Register of Historic Places. Or Mrs. Jackson down at Chickasha, who's dedicated the first one-room African-American school that they found out on a farm that we restored. Or the Daughters of the American Revolution on the home, the Foreman home in Duncan, or a pavilion down in Marietta. I can go on, but every community, an amphitheater in Ada, Oklahoma, where you know, they did so many things, but it deteriorated, and now the city of Ada has gone in and restored and raised their matching dollars. So this has really been exciting to be in these smaller communities and see them get excited about this centennial.
What have you done for my wife's hometown, Granville?
Granville's got a beautiful project too in Granville, so we're delighted. Every town has got something.
Pretty big.
Guthrie, of course, is gigantic. November 16th, of course, Lee Allen's got the evening with the spectacular, but all day in Guthrie, we're going to have events beginning with a parade, and we're going to have them out at the First Constitution, out at the Carnegie Library, and just goes on leading up to everybody then leaving Guthrie to come to Oklahoma City.
I think you ought to remember to say something about Hera.
Well, we've got Hera too. It doesn't matter. Freedom, Oklahoma out in the west has got the best little museum. You know, there's 380 little museums all over the great state of Oklahoma. You know, a lot of people think that's a negative, but it really isn't. If you've got a quilt from your grandmother and it means something to your family, then you have a place today to go in and put it in a local museum to preserve it for the rest of eternity. And I think that's really a great positive.
One thing caught my eye, not only because I just thought it was fun. In Tulsa, the 57 Plymouth time capsule.
Oh,
now, what's that about?
Listen, you got to.
That's about national publicity. That's what.
National, yeah. Again, national publicity. We didn't realize the power of a time capsule.
Smith, by the way.
Well, a lot of people in '57, of course, but this was their time capsule, and they put a 1957 Plymouth Belvedere in a tube down into the ground. And in the front seat is a little envelope that tells who will get this Belvedere. Well, it's caught wildfire all over the world. We've got Belvedere groups coming in from the United States and Europe, and I mean, it is a tremendous popularity deal. And this is just another centennial project that we have in Tulsa.
And what's the date of that? Do you remember?
June 15th.
June 15th. Thank you very much. It's hard to remember every day. Well, we hope you'll come.
Blake Wade, Lee Allen Smith, thank you both for everything you're doing to help Oklahoma celebrate its centennial here in 2007. Kent and I'll be back with a final word after this.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. a place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
He's gonna score. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Go,
Satellite go out again?
Yeah, rain. But this is just as fun.
Don't live in satellite denial. Get the reliability you expect from Cox, your friend in the digital age.
There's a whole new world online, but it's not always safe for kids. That's why your parents and teachers set clear rules, when to go online and how to protect yourself on the internet. It's the safe way for kids, right, gang?
Right. Be safe online.
Thanks to Lauren Nelson and Cox, we're working to keep Oklahoma kids safer online. For your free guide, log on now. And if you feel your child has been placed in danger by someone online, notify law enforcement today.
Welcome back to The Verdict. We've been learning more about the Oklahoma State Centennial here in 2007 with Allan Smith and Blake Wade, and those guys are busy.
They are busy, but they're hard chargers. They got lots of energy and lots of exposure to people who can make things happen, and they're doing it.
One of their messages was to vacation this year in Oklahoma. Probably not a bad message for us to pass along.
No, on that Centennial site that you're going to give here in a minute, you can get on there and see everything that's going on, when it is, what's it about. It's a very attractive list of attractions.
That web address is oklahomacentennial.com. And then, of course, we always want to remind you about theverdict.tv. That's our website where you can go and tell us about a show that you'd like to see right here on The Verdict. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. We'll see you next time on The Verdict.
The preceding program was produced by the Production Services Group at Cox Communications, exclusively for the Cox Channel.